such a beautiful gift or decoration, but what a waste that those fresh flowers just end up shriveled up and dead after a few days.
Absolutely, but we are excited to welcome Bonnie Hall to the studio. She's the founder of Bonnie's Blooms here in the Triangle, and she's going to tell us how she got started and how this process works. So Bonnie, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the studio, and your work is gorgeous. I've just been sitting here staring at
I've been admiring. So tell us a little bit about Bonnie's Blooms.
Sure. So 3.5 years ago, I got married in 2018, and I struggled to find a business that would preserve flowers. I knew I've always had a love for art and flowers, but at the time, there weren't really any businesses that exist that offered this service. So before my honeymoon, I was like, you know what, I'm going to throw these into some books. We'll see how they turn out. I came home and I ruined a ton of books in the process. I mean, moldy flowers.
Did the flowers turn out okay?
I had enough to put together a piece and put it in a frame, kind of created a work of art, and sent it out to friends and family. And I got a lot of great feedback that their encouragement just allowed me to jump into this because nothing existed at the time. So
it's clearly a service we need here in the Triangle. I told you I got married many years ago, and I just dried my bouquet upside down. Not a great plan because you can't do anything with it from that point on.
But it just collects dust.
But the fun one is you said we could recreate it. So I love that you kind of find inspiration in the flowers. So tell me a little bit about how you find that inspiration, where you kind of come up with these projects.
Sure. Well, so I have taken art classes my whole life. So love art history, traveling. So art has always been a good inspiration for me, but these days, with how the technology, social media has been a huge part in my inspiration because aside from connecting with clients, I also am able to connect with other artists, other fellow flower pressers, other mompreneurs, and it's just been a great way to not only connect with clients, but to grow my business and to get inspiration that way. So
we love social media around here. You get lots of inspiration. If people want to follow you, where can they find you? Because we need people to follow you on Instagram so they can check out your great work.
It's bonnies.blooms.
Okay, easy enough. Okay, so let's start this process. I was telling you before we got started, I wish my sister would have known this because so many people, like we've said, we waste so much money on this process, on these flowers or flower arrangements. So we can preserve them with Bonnie's Blooms. How do we do that?
Yes. And I love that you mentioned that because that's, again, the big drive of why I jumped into this business is
the wedding business.
Thousands of dollars. And I think most people in the wedding industry will tell you that flowers just get tossed at the end of the night, and I'm here to save them.
Awesome.
So it's pretty simple. In fact, you guys could do this if you wanted. It's just some wood. So I hand make my presses, and there's just, you go to a hardware store and get some wood, and I drill, and I've got, my hardware is just wing nuts and bolts.
Seems simple enough so far,
And so this is just the traditional method where it's essentially you're sandwiching flower petals on top of each other and then closing it and letting it sit for 4 to 6 weeks. So we'll...
so what kind of flowers? Because they're hard to press flowers and easier to press flowers. So you said the roses aren't that hard.
Roses aren't too hard, and I can show you that we've got a rose here, and my process, I normally take off, like, I'm sure y'all can see how it's a little bit dry. So I like to take those off and get down to the ones that are inside. They're in great condition. And I like to deconstruct petal by petal because if they go in like this as a whole, too much moisture, and therefore you get mold. Nobody wants that. I learned that the hard way with my own wedding flowers. So yes, after a lot of trial and error, I have kind of perfected my method.
So these pieces are not necessarily all dried whole. They're dried and then reassembled. That's the art process. You have to recreate a flower. That is so cool.
It's a lot, but it's fulfilling. So it's challenging, but fulfilling for sure. So they get deconstructed and then put back together. So essentially, I group flowers by flower type. So I'll do like all rose petals. You've got a ranunculus here. We'll do those petals one by one, and then we can do any type of paper, wax paper, parchment paper. This is like a thick cardstock. Anything that will absorb the moisture out of the flowers.
That's not a book that you want to ruin.
Yes.
Ruin this paper instead of the books.
Yes.
Unfortunate.
So you just do that. You stack them up, and then you put the top on, and I usually let my flowers sit for 4 to 6 weeks. And the magic happens, and sometimes I'll peek on them every now and then because if they do have a ton of moisture in them, it's required to change out the paper.
Sure, prevent the mold, yeah.
Yes, and so I've got some flowers that are ready to take to reveal.
The big reveal today. Let's see what we've worked on today.
And so something that you mentioned while we do this, that certain flowers are more tedious than others.
Yes, ranunculus.
Is it because they just have so many petals?
Yeah, well, they have so many petals, or they have high moisture content.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave that.
These are beautiful, and you can do some of the flowers.
Some you can do whole.
That's
this is beautiful. A delphinium.
That turned out so pretty.
If you feel I mean, they get paper thin.
Wow.
So they're super fragile.
They do. They feel like tissue paper.
Yeah.
Even thinner than tissue paper, honestly.
So, but that's good. That means
so beautifully.
All the moisture came out.
So are they still very delicate in this stage, and you have to be
so delicate? Yeah. They're kind of, you talk about yours being dried as a full bouquet.
Yeah.
I mean, these, because the moisture is taken out of yours as well. These are just in a different way. I mean, you can. I'll actually just show you.
They'll crack, but they definitely don't seem as fragile as like the upside down dried ones, where I feel like if I poke them the wrong way, they'll
breathe
just
on them. Yes.
just evaporate into dust. Well, this is so very cool. I love that this is something that you get to do for work. Oh, and of course you can dry the greenery as well.
Which is, and it's cool to see. Colors will sometimes change. Sometimes colors will get darker, or they'll change completely. So this is like a kind of a dark red rose that actually turns more purple, but then the greenery will stay kind of that nice bright hue.
I love that the veins in the greenery really pop out too. These are so gorgeous.
Yes.
All right, tell people where they can find you again on Instagram, and I know you have a website as well, so they can contact you if they need help.
Yes, please.
And of course, we're going to tell people that you may, cross fingers, be offering classes coming up, because you had some inquiries.
Yes, I've gotten a lot of inquiries through the connections I made on Instagram. Again, that's been such a great source for me to grow my business, and I would love to offer classes. I think it's something that's pretty simple materials that people can
people would love it
at home.
Yeah, they can hang this up in their house. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. All right, where can people get in touch with you and find more?
Bonnie's.blooms is Instagram, and then bonniesblooms.com is my website.
Awesome, Bonnie. Thanks so much for being here. This is so cool. A work of art, truly.
Thank you so much.
No, really.